Hello ladies and gents, welcome to another repair video. A few days ago I went on eBay looking around seeing what I could pick up just before Christmas, and I managed to find a Xbox One S motherboard selling it as faulty on eBay. So this turned up today and I paid £39.19 in total for this, and apparently it's got a faulty HDMI. When I contacted the seller, he unfortunately didn't really know a lot about consoles. This was apparently, I think it was his brother's, and he was just selling this on its own, but obviously that's no good. We needed the daughter board as well. So what I did was I got in touch and I said, look, I need the daughter board with it if I'm going to buy it. Can you include it with the sale? And he didn't just include that. So he sent a box, this box here. He sent a box, and basically the box has the hard drive caddy, it has the front panel, it has the fan and the disk drive, the power supply, the Wi-Fi card, and the SATA cable. Oh, and the screws. So I paid under £40 for pretty much the entire console. The only thing that's missing is the hard drive and the shell. And that's pretty much it. So we're going to try and fix it, and hopefully we can get a working console at the end of it. So like I said, I paid £39.19 in total. That included postage, and apparently it's got a faulty HDMI. So the question is it just a faulty HDMI? And more importantly, can I fix it? But while I've got your attention, if you are new to the channel and you enjoy this type of content, then please be sure to hit subscribe and turn on the bell notifications so that you're notified whenever I release a video. So as you can see here, we've got a load of stuff. So I'm just going to chuck some of this to one side, because for now we need to just work on the motherboard. The heatsink is included in this as well, but the fan has been taken off, probably for protection. Really well packaged, everything individually packaged in bubble wrap. And yeah, I'm quite happy with the purchase, at least so far. So there's a nice little bag of screws. Shame it's not a bag of diamonds. It would have been better than the screws, because I could have bought loads of them with diamonds, but never mind. So before we get started with the repair, I do want to give a little shout out to a couple of people. And the first person that I want to give a thanks and a shout out to is Nick Kennedy. Now, Nick Kennedy is a long-term supporter of the channel, and over the past year or so he has been more than generous to this channel as well as many other channels. And he is the person who bought me this Hakko soldering iron, and basically he's just been giving me loads and loads of support. I've been on his podcast a couple of times, but he is genuinely a absolutely fantastic person and very, very kind. So he's got two channels. He's got the Antisocial Experience and he's got his own personal channel, Nick Kennedy. I'm going to leave a link to both of those channels in the video description. If we can help get him to 500 subscribers on both accounts, then that would be absolutely fantastic. And the second person is Chris from iFix Consoles. So Chris from iFix Consoles, the YouTube algorithm hasn't really been nice to him. He's an absolutely fantastic technician, and he's got really good diagnostic skills, especially on these particular consoles. And you know, he deserves more subscribers than he's got. And he does fall off his chair quite often, which is quite funny, so you might get a good laugh out of it every now and again. But genuinely, he's a great guy. He's a supporter of the channel. He's a channel member, and he, like I said, he deserves more than he's actually got right now. So if you could check him out as well, that'd be absolutely fantastic. But like I said, this console has a faulty HDMI. I can see that it's got damage to the HDMI. So as you can see there, the HDMI is a little bit mangled. So we're going to get that changed, and hopefully that's all that's wrong with it. But, you know, we never know. It could have something else wrong with it. I'm going to take off this heatsink because I can see some things here. So it could have had some sort of a spill in the past or something like that. Or it could just be dust. So I'm going to take off the heatsink because I'm going to need to change the thermal paste once I'm done anyway. So I may as well take the heatsink off now. I'm going to get my X-clamp removal tool and just pop that off. You can buy these off AliExpress for around about £1. They are Team Executor X-clamp removal tools. About £1 on AliExpress, really useful tools for this particular console and all of the Xboxes actually. Okay, so that's just incredibly dusty, so we'll give that a clean. So I thought it could have been some sort of a spill, but no, it seems absolutely fine. So what I'm going to do before I even attempt to power it on is just make sure that we haven't got any shorts on there and that the description is, well, as best as I can tell, accurate. So I'll set my meter into continuity mode and just make sure that we've got no short. I'll pop one probe on ground and the other probe on the 12 volt line. And yep, okay, so we've got no short on there, so I'll proceed with attempting to repair the HDMI port. And I'm going to show you my method for fixing the HDMI port. First of all, let's just clean off this dust. So I'm just going to give it a brush down. So I don't do many HDMI ports these days. I'll get more of the difficult repairs. So it's nice to have some nice easy jobs once in a while. Hopefully it is just the HDMI port, but usually worst case scenario, it's either going to be the HDMI port, the HDMI encoder, or the ESD protection IC. So either way, you know, it should be absolutely fine. So I can see here that this port is definitely damaged. It's also bent as well, so it looks like it's probably been dropped in the past. So the frame is a little bit bent. So what I need to do is I need to get this off safely. And the way that I do that is to add some leaded solder first. And what that's going to do is it's going to change the mixture of the solder, it's going to change the chemical built makeup of the solder itself, and it's going to lower the melting temperature from around about 210 degrees to around about 185 degrees. So basically we do that so as we don't damage any pads on the HDMI port when it comes to removing it. So I'll pop under the scope and I'll show you what I'm going to do. Okay, so we've got the back of the port here, and you can clearly see that it's damaged as well because it's all split and separated, so that should be closed together, but you can clearly see it's damaged. So what we'll do is we've got some ground legs, so these 4 points here are all the ground anchor points. We need to add some leaded solder to that first of all, just to lower the melting temperature there. So we'll start off by adding some flux. And if you hear anything in the background, my son is bouncing on my bed, so that's what the background noise is going to be. So what we're going to do then, we're going to take some leaded solder and we're going to just lower this melting temperature. So I'm just going to flow some solder on here. Just add a blob there. And there also. Same for here. Going to add some there as well. Notice that the leaded solder is a lot shinier than the lead-free solder that's on there from factory. Looks like this port has never been changed before, which is good. And then what I want to do is on the front of the port where these pins are, I just want to do the same. So obviously we don't want the solder on the ground legs to melt before the solder on the pins themselves, because the pins are what are going to be the most fragile. So we add some leaded solder to those as well. So just run some solder across there, make sure that we get every single pin. Don't worry if there's any bridges, it's coming off anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my hot air set at 480 degrees Celsius at 40% airflow. That's using my Atten ST862D. And I'm going to take the nozzle off my hot air. And all I'm going to do is just heat it up. I'm just going to suck the solder out of the ground legs. There we go. And there we go. So with the sucking out of the solder legs, that's took around about 2.5 minutes. But there's the old port just off to the side here. And we've got no damage to the pads without using low melt solder. Okay, and yes, that looks a little bit burnt, but once I clean it up, it's going to be absolutely fine. So I'll just get some isopropyl alcohol here. Just spray that on there. I've got this in a spray bottle. And then we're just going to use a cotton swab. There we go. So just a little bit of burnt flux. Nothing to worry about there. And that's literally ready right now to put a new port on. So what I'll do now is I'll just drop the port on there. This is a brand new port. And because I've already cleaned out the ground holes, it's going to sit down there nicely. Or at least it should. Let's just make sure that's level. Yep. Okay, so that sits in there perfectly. So what I need to do is, obviously if I tip this upside down and try and solder the ground legs, I'm just going to end up with the port dropping out. So what I'll do is I'll just solder the top legs first. So I'll solder the actual HDMI pins first, and then I'll worry later on about the ground legs. So I'll just add some flux there. And then what I'm going to do is just take some leaded solder on my iron. So a little blob of leaded solder on the iron there, just like that. I'll press down on the port and then just run it across the pins. I'll put a blob on there. I'm not really worried about bridges immediately, so I can just use the drag method. And then if I clean off my tip, and now I can just keep dragging backwards and forwards, making sure that every single pin ends up with solder on it. And eventually I can just drag all of the remaining solder to the end of the port, keep cleaning my tip, and eventually it should clean off all of the excess solder. Okay, if it does struggle to clean up the excess solder, you can wick it away. I think I'm going to do that now actually, just because there's a little bit too much there. So I'll just wick some of it away and then it should clean up nicely. There you go. So I'll add some more flux. Okay, let's wick away once more. Alright, and that should be soldered. The key word there is should, but what we're going to do is we're going to check over the work, make sure that every single pin is solid. I'm just going to clean up. Again, using 99% isopropyl alcohol, just to clean off the old flux. We don't want to leave flux on the board, want it nice and clean. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something called a nudge test, and I'm going to make sure that all of these pins are nice and solid. So I'll just go across each pin with a pair of tweezers, giving it a little nudge. You always want to check over your work, because even though they look soldered, one of them might not be. Or more than one might not be. The amount of times I get consoles in for repair and people say that they've changed the HDMI port and it's still not working, and then I end up just having to resolder a couple of pins. Honestly, I lose count. But they're all solid, they're all perfect. So that's all nicely soldered. I am going to check for bridges. So I want to make sure that there's no solder bridges on the pins. So with the meter in continuity mode, I'm just going to go across each pin, testing it to the one next to it. So I am in continuity mode there. So if we hear a beep, then it's going to indicate a short. Sometimes I will touch the two probes together. These are pretty fine pitch. That's perfect. No solder bridges, every single pin is soldered, and we are almost ready to go. So the reason I say almost is because we do still have the ground legs to sort out. So these ground legs are going to act as an anchor point, and it's going to make it so as the port doesn't fall out. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to solder these in and make sure that it's all nice and secure. So the trick to soldering through hole, which is basically what this is because the pins go through a hole. The trick to soldering through hole is to heat up the component itself, in this case the leg itself and the pad at the same time. And the reason for that is because the solder is going to want to flow wherever there's heat. And as you saw from that there then, it wanted to follow the heat. So if the pin and the pad itself are both the same temperature, it's going to follow along and it's going to solder both at the same time. So you see that following in? Just like that. And do the same this side. Now, one of these pins never goes all the way through. Don't worry about that, it's just slightly smaller. Just add solder and make sure that you put enough in there so as it pushes itself through the hole. Okay, so there's all 4 soldered. But what I'm going to do as well, at the same time, I'm also going to use some hot air and the soldering iron at the same time. The reason for that is because the solder that's there is going to push itself through. So gravity is going to take it down. And it's going to make sure that the solder goes all the way through the hole to actually get a nice anchor with the board. And that's done. So the port is soldered, it's all done, and it's all ready to test. Just going to clean that off, like I said. Just make sure it's all nice and clean and ready to go. So the final thing I need to do then is just replace the thermal paste, or rather hopefully the final thing I need to do. And I've been recording for 27 minutes. If I was doing this without recording, I would have been done within 10 minutes. It doesn't take long at all, and it's not a difficult task to do if you have a little bit of practice under your belt. Honestly, it's a job that anyone can do. There's no special art to it. There's no special training required, just a little bit of practice. Okay, so just get rid of that. So just get rid of that. I've got the hiccups, which is always nice. And I'm going to get some fresh thermal paste. There we go. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Let's just spread that out evenly. Whoops. Drop my little toy. Okay. So, what we need to do now is, first of all, I need to prep the heatsink because there's dust on it. And then I'm also going to need to clean off the old thermal paste off the heatsink side of it as well. And I don't think this motherboard's so much use because that thermal paste isn't as dry as I'd expect it to be. Okay, so I'm just going to pop that on there. And then we're going to take the X clamp and we're going to clamp it down. There we go. Okay, let's get the rest of the parts, and I'm going to get a case as well and a hard drive. Okay, I have I believe this is a Forza limited edition case, which this is going to go into. And this is going to go into my personal collection. So I'm going to start grabbing some parts and also some screws as well. So I'm just going to grab random screws. I'm not really fussed about where they come from. I've got hundreds of screws, so it's not really a major concern. And I'm going to get this thing assembled. Okay, ladies and gents, so pretty much assembled here. This came with pretty much everything I need, but there's a clip broken, probably in shipping. I'm not going to grumble, but I am going to change the fan because I don't really want a broken clip. So I'm going to replace the fan. I could just glue that clip on, but nah, I'll just replace it. So while I'm doing this and while I'm finishing putting it back together, let's just go over what this will have cost me if it works right off the bat now. So a HDMI port, I pay £1 for these when I buy them in bulk off AliExpress. So I'll pay £1 for the HDMI ports, or around about £1. It cost me £39.19 for the console itself, and a second-hand 1TB hard drive is around about £22. That's from CEX. So if I add everything up, sorry, and a fan, but I'm not going to count the fan because I can fix the other one. So if I add everything up, then we're talking £22 plus £39.19 plus £1. So that is £62.19 in total for a console. That's not including the case. If I include the case with it, I've had this case for a couple of years, but if I include the case with it, this case retails for around about £20 used. This one isn't in the greatest of conditions anymore, but if I add it all up, it's come to around about £82.19 in total for a, or rather what should be a fully working console. So that is a 1TB console, and that is going to be a limited edition 1TB console. That's the reason I went for a 1TB hard drive. So not a bad price. There we go. We have one complete console. So this is a 1TB console now. And I'm not sure what the hard drive would have been before I bought it, or rather before I bought the console. But now it's got a 1TB. I will probably buy an SSD for this, to be honest. I do have a Gold Rush limited edition Xbox One X with a 1TB hard drive in it, or rather a 1TB SSD. Okay, so I'm going to take a HDMI cable. Let's pop that in there. And let's turn it on. Does it work? It turns on. Do we have a free game? Ah, never mind. Okay, so that's turning on. Let's just see if it goes into safe mode. And I'm not getting any pictures so far. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clean out the HDMI cable. Make sure that there's no flux inside there. And also make sure there's no flux inside the port as well, because that can cause issues. Hopefully we don't have to take this back apart to change the retimer. Okay, and at the minute I'm getting a grey screen on this, so I don't know if it's trying to boot, but at the minute I'm getting a grey screen on the capture card. I am going to try it on the TV really quickly and just see if it wants to load up on the TV. It could be the capture card playing up. So I'll hook it up to a TV and just see if we get a display on there. And unfortunately we just get a grey screen. So because we get a grey screen, we don't get a no signal, we get a grey screen. That could well be that the hard drive I've installed is bad. That is possible. It could be trying to boot up and it's got no green screen. Okay, that's flashing actually. Did I just press the sync button, or I might have done? Never mind. Okay, so at the minute it's not displaying anything on the screen, so let's do the 3 buttons. So we're going to press sync, eject and power at the same time, and we're going to wait for a second beep, and it's not coming up with a second beep. Okay, now it's turned on, so let me just see if it wants to boot up now, and it doesn't look like it wants to. We might have a HDMI encoder issue here, or it could be the hard drive. So the TV at the minute is trying to display it in 1920 by 1080, which means that it's not going into safe mode. So what that's telling me is that it's going to be a HDMI encoder issue, because it's not trying to go to 640 by 480. So I think we need to take it back apart and replace the HDMI encoder. So I'll get this apart and I'll skip to the point where it's fully disassembled and ready to work on. And there we go. This is ready to come out. So I'm going to pop that to one side, and I'm going to pop that to one side, and I'm going to change this encoder here. I'm not going to take it back out of the case fully because I don't think it's necessary. All of this is metal here, and I can control my hot air fairly well. I don't recommend doing this inside the case if you're working on a customer's device, but because this belongs to me, I can pretty much do what I want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this chip off and I'm going to replace it. Right then, so here we have the HDMI encoder. This is the retimer. The part number for this is SN75DP159. It's a HDMI redriver or retimer, whatever you want to call it. It's basically responsible for taking the audio and video signals, mixing them up, doing all its magic, and then sending them out to the HDMI port. So if this chip goes faulty, we either end up with a black screen, we end up with a no signal issue, or we could end up with something like a flickering display, lines on the screen. Pretty much any kind of issue that you can think of with HDMI can arise from the HDMI encoder going bad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get it removed and replaced. I'm going to be replacing it with a TDP158, which is the Xbox One X equivalent of the 159. The reason for that is because the 159s are pretty difficult to get right now, and they're fairly expensive. I've got some 158s, but I've got no 159s. But the 159 is the direct predecessor of the 158, which means that they are pin for pin compatible. You can put the 158 onto the 1S, but you can't put the 159 onto the 1X. Let's get this off then. So I'm going to set my hot air at 420 degrees Celsius at 40% airflow, and then I'm going to get this removed and get it replaced. Alright, so there's the old chip removed. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to replace the solder with some leaded solder, just like we did with the HDMI port. That's going to lower the melting temperature and allow me to install the new chip safely. So I'll add some flux here, and then I'm just going to tin these pads. Let's not forget the middle pad for the ground pad. So what I'm going to do, like I said, is I'm going to take a HDMI encoder. This is the TDP158, which I'm going to be putting on, and I'm actually going to be testing a new supplier of these today, so I need to make sure these actually work. So what better way to do it than on the console that I'm building for myself. So if these don't work, obviously I'd have to do an RMA, but this is a new supplier. They are getting fairly difficult to get. If these work, I'll leave a link to this supplier down in the video description. The 158 and the 159 are both available to buy from Mouser usually, and DigiKey, things like that. So it's not like they are off the back of a lorry sort of thing. Okay, so that's in the right orientation. I'm going to heat up the area first, then just drop the chip on. And I gave that a little tap there, and as you can see, it moved back into place. That means it's in centre, because surface tension is pulling it back in. So now I'm just going to press down on the chip, make sure it's nice and flat to the board. You're going to see some solder squeeze out, that's normal. Let that cool off, there we go. You'll get a little bit of a spot in the middle of the chip, that's absolutely fine as long as you don't dig into it. So now I'll just add some more flux, and then I'm just going to come around the edge of the chip with the soldering iron and just touch up these pins, or pads rather. Just make sure we've got some nice smooth joints on these pads. Nice shiny leaded solder. Just by running the edge of the iron across. I'm using a bevel tip here, by the way. It allows me to get up close and personal with the chip. And there we go. Just got to clean this off and then we're done. Hopefully. It's a little bit dark for you guys, but that looks perfectly aligned to me. The light is a little bit difficult to penetrate at this zoom level, but that looks nicely aligned to me, and I'm happy with how the chip's sitting. Alright, I'm not going to put it back together. I've learnt my lesson, so I'm not going to put it back together until I know it's going to display. Okay, so we get the initial fan spin there. I'm going to test it on the TV first, and then if it works I'll get it onto the capture card. I'll test it on my TV. So if the console turns on, then the chip is generally going to be installed correctly. Okay, it's not displaying. Let me just clean off the HDMI cable. I'll just spray some isopropyl alcohol on the cable. Yeah, that's not displaying at all now. Okay. These chips could be bad. These chips could be bad because that's not picking up. Alright, I'm going to see if I've got 5 volts on the HDMI port. And just see if we're getting HDMI detect at all. Okay, I'm getting 5 volts there. Yep, I'm getting 5 volts. And I'm getting 5 volts on pin number 19 as well. So pin number 18 and 19, I'm getting 5 volts. It should theoretically be working. Alright, let me try another hard drive here. I can't use this hard drive because it is to another console. But I can use it to test and see if I get a display. Yeah, I'm not getting a display here. Yeah, no display on the capture card either. These chips are probably bad. I'm going to change it again. I'll change it off camera, save setting the capture card and things back up. But I'm going to change it again and put another one on. Okay, right, this still isn't displaying. So before I changed the encode, it was coming up as basically 1920 by 1080 but with no picture. Now it's coming up no signal. And it's not displaying anything on the screen. I've got a feeling these are dud, these chips. I've got a feeling these chips are dud. Alright. I'm going to have to install one of my existing chips. So I have got some chips, but I was trying out these new supply ones. So I'll install one of the chips I've been using. And if that works, then I'm going to have to send all these back. I'm waiting for another 20 to come as well, that's the worst thing. Okay, so I've got a donor board here. This, some people may remember, was a Cat P console. And I installed this chip. Did I install this chip? I can't remember, to be honest. But I'll take this chip off this donor board and see if this works. Okay, so there's a donor chip. Let's zoom in actually, so you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay, that should be lined up. Of course I did that without the microscope, so it might not be. I will check it though. Okay. Okay, I'll just inspect it quickly. And it certainly looks well soldered. So I'm going to give it a whirl. So, to be fair, I mean, the microscope these days, for me, most of the time is just for show. I don't generally use it. Not when I'm not recording. Now I can do 0201s, I can do 0402s, I can do pretty much any component on consoles without the need for a scope. Just because I'm used to it. We're now back to a black screen. Them chips are dud. They have to be. But we are back to a black screen. Which is really, really weird. It's just very odd how it's not displaying now. But it is displaying a black screen. Now that could still be the hard drive. Whoops. Well, if the hard drive worked, it doesn't now. Oh, this is annoying, man. Alright, I'm going to see if it picks up a signal with this hard drive. Yes, it does. Oh, it was the hard drive all along, that's annoying. Oh no, that's annoying. It was the hard drive all along, but those chips I've received are fake. Wow, that's so annoying. Right, well, as you can see there on the screen now, we do have a picture. So we get an E106 because it's not the correct hard drive for this system, and we need to reinstall OSU1. So I'm going to do that really quickly. I'm going to get this installed. I'm actually going to grab another hard drive. It's going to be a 500 gig because that's the only 1 terabyte hard drive that I had. So I'll grab another hard drive and yeah, I'll take it from there. Right then, so this is installed and it appears to be working. That's just picking up my SSD there, so let's just skip signing. And let's just go through a few different settings here. So let's just check the display first of all. Whoops, wrong one. I keep forgetting this one's got stick drift. 4K. Okay, so it picks up 4K, but for some reason on the capture card it doesn't work. Okay, so it does pick up 4K, but it doesn't actually work on this capture card. So I'll keep that at 1080p for now, but it does pick up 4K, so it should be working in 4K absolutely fine. Let's go to network settings. Set up wireless. Picks up my Wi-Fi. All good, connected. 66.66 megabits per second. Okay, well, it's working. Network is working, fine. Bit scary though, 66.66 megabits per second. Let's pop in a disk, let's see if it loads. There we go, it's loading a disk, absolutely fine. This is working, all done. Right, so all that's left to do with this is two things. First of all, I'm going to get this put back together. And the second thing is I've got to open a dispute on AliExpress. I was going to open one just, but I need to take pictures. So I'm just going to have to take pictures of the chips themselves. It is what it is. Sometimes you get these scammers on AliExpress. There's no way those chips are real. I'll put the old chip back on. Sorry, no, I'll put a donor chip on and it's working fine. The chip that was installed is probably working as well, but the 1 terabyte hard drive that I had seems to be faulty. That's fine. You know, some of the hard drives get mixed up and some of the faulty ones go in with the working ones. It is what it is, but yeah, JCan Gaming Store on AliExpress. Stay away from them. Those chips are fake. Do not buy from JCan Gaming Store. I'll just show you the purchase just to show you that. I'm going to load up my phone here. 10 times original TDP158 WQFN40 for Xbox One X. The Xbox One X chips do work on the Xbox One S. I've confirmed that time and time again. They are supposed to be absolutely 100% compatible. It's not because it's being used on an Xbox One S. Those chips are fake. That seller is a scammer. So that is the bottom line. Yeah, I mean, in terms of this actual console though, I mean, the fact that it doesn't display, or well, the fact that it didn't display with those new chips, that's not the seller's fault. So obviously, I'm 100% happy with the purchase of the console, or rather the motherboard and things like that. I am 100% annoyed and a little bit peed off, to be honest with you, with the fact that I've spent £200 on Xbox One X retimer chips and the fake. Obviously, the other 20 haven't even come yet, so I can't even open a dispute for them until they turn up in a few days. Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, other than the fact that I'm going to be low on stock, I will get my money back. I will contact AliExpress, and if I don't get my money back off AliExpress, then I'll contact my bank and get my money back that way. Either way, that money is coming back to me. I am not paying for fake chips. Yeah, let me know what you think down in the comments down below. Have you had any issues with this seller on AliExpress yourself? Or have you ordered anything off that seller recently? These chips are getting more and more expensive as they get more and more difficult to come across, and there's a lot more fakes going about. Those chips you can actually buy usually from DigiKey and Mouser and RS Components, things like that. And that is the first TDP158 that I've ever had, or the first pack of TDP158s that I've ever had that have been fake. And yeah, it is what it is, but you know, sometimes you can't help it. They did have good feedback. I've just left negative feedback so it helps a few more people while I'm waiting to get my own money back. and I'll leave negative feedback for the other one because I bought another 2 lots for them. So I'll leave negative feedback on those ones as well, and then I'll get more than 1 negative feedback. Hopefully people listen to my comment on there. But yeah, it is what it is. It does suck, but it happens. So like I said, let me know what you think down in the comments down below. I always do enjoy reading comments from the viewers. It gives me a little bit of insight into what I'm doing right and wrong. If you like the video, remember to give me a thumbs up. If you dislike it, remember to let me know. Give me a thumbs down. I can see the thumbs downs, even though you guys can't. YouTube have blocked it for the public, but the creator can see it. So if you dislike the video, give it a dislike and let me know why in the comments down below. If you do want to organise a repair, you can do so by going in touch using the website in the video description. I promise I won't use a fake chip on your console. That's why I test these things out on my own consoles and not on customer devices. Obviously it didn't damage the console, but that's not the point. I'll still test them on my own consoles when I'm using different suppliers. And yeah, if you do want to organise a repair, I do console repairs including next gen and last gen. So PS5, Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S, Xbox One, Xbox One S, Xbox One X, and the PS4s. So, and the Nintendo Switches as well. If you want to support me, if you enjoy this type of content and you think I'm worthy, number 1, you are absolutely insane, you need your head checking. But number 2, you can support me by becoming a Patreon supporter in the video description. There's a link down there to that. You can become a channel sponsor using the join button down below the video, or you can head over to Twitch and you can subscribe using your Amazon Prime account, or become a normal monthly subscriber on Twitch, and that all helps out the channel as well. There's also a direct donation link below the video as well in the description. But that's going to be it for now. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching. Maybe check out one of my other videos, such as the £120 for 2 Nintendo Switches. I'll leave that up on the video now, so you can click on that and watch some more content. But that's going to be it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later. Bye for now.